Hello, my name is María Luisa Carreo, and we are going to talk about how to compare in English, right? I'm going to explain you different ways of comparison, of comparing things in English or person or people, right? Well, in comparison, we have different parts. We have, you can compare things or people, taking into account if you want to express that they are inferior, equal, superior, or superlative. If we focus on inferiority, we can use this structure that you can see in transparency. Less than, no, so, as. We'll see some examples later, okay? Then if you want to express equality, you'll use as, or as much when it's uncountable, and as many when it's countable, when it's a countable noun. And then later you have to place the word as to, right, to make the comparison. Or you can also say the same plus substantive plus as. If you want to express superiority, it depends on the adjective you are using to express this superiority. If this adjective's got one syllable, then you have to add er, than, to the adjective. Than is optional. You can use this particle than, or you can eliminate that. You can say this is higher, and that's all, right? Then if you have an adjective with more than one syllable, or if they don't end in y, we have to add more and then say the adjective plus than. For example, more expensive, and as before, than is optional. This is more expensive than the other one, or this is more expensive, and that's all, because it's in the context and then we can understand what we are talking about. And finally, it's superlative. In superlative structures is when we want to say that one person or one object has got one characteristic that is superlative to the other ones. We are not comparing groups, but we are saying that one person or one object has got one characteristic that it's superlative, right? That as before, we can form this superlative comparison or this superlative way of expressing comparison depending on the syllables and the adjective we are using. If we have one syllable adjective or the adjective finishes in y, then we have to add est to the adjective, and then we can use the prepositions or, of, or in. Of is used with time, and in is used with place. For example, we say she is the tallest boy in the class, right? Or she is the biggest, or this is the biggest, or the best day of my life, right? When it's time. When we have adjectives with more than one syllable, or if they don't finish in y, then we have to use this structure that you can see in the transparency. You have to use the most, and then add the adjective, and again of or in. As I said before, depending if it's time or place. Here you have an example, the most expensive, but we are going to see more examples right now. For example, inferiority, here you have an example, iron is less malleable than steel. You can also say much malleable or whatever, but iron is less malleable, right? Superiority, my car is smaller than his car, or my car is more expensive than his car. Yeah? Or you can also use much more expensive, because we want to emphasize that the comparison is, we want to emphasize this comparison. This is an optional word that you can use, right? Then superlatives, we said, for example, February is the shortest month of the year, or Barcelona is the most international city in Spain. Another one, Audi is as good as Mercedes. We can use this device as many times as required. Many, because it's a countable noun. Take as much money as you need. Well, you have other structure that we use when we compare in English. For example, we can compare iron with plastic regarding toughness. The former is much tougher than the latter. As you can see here, we use the, and we don't use the superlative structure, we use the superiority structure, and then we repeat the same structure at the end of the sentence. And in Spanish that means, la primera es mucho más que la última, right? Then, as you see, the translator is the translation is completely different. Pay attention to this structure, please. And then you have other structure here. My house is different from yours in size, in that mine is smaller than yours. We can also say wood, unlike stainless steel, etc. And in this sense, we also compare objects. Also, you have another structure here. The more malleable the material, the better. And the translation in Spanish is cuanto más maleable el material, mejor. Notice that the translation is completely different. And we repeat the structure. The more malleable, the superiority structure. And then at the end, the same superiority structure, the better. The more practice, the better you speak. The lower the resistance of a wire, the better it conducts electricity. Always the same structure, you can see. You have also some words that you can use to compare. While I was studying in Rome, she was still in Spain. One element was stable while the other was always changing, to contrast, to express contrast, or whereas too. You can also use whereas, as you can see in the example. You can also use despite of the bad weather, we could save the engine. Despite the fact that the weather was bad, we could save the engine. Instead of let, we should use an environmental friendly element. You have here more examples. Some other sentences that they can use. And you have the structure at the beginning of the sentence and then an example. And also pay attention that there are some irregular adjectives, right? You have the list here of irregular adjectives. Remember, this is for superiority and superlative form. For example, good is said, better and best, bad, worst, etc. You have all the other irregular adjectives, the list of irregular adjectives. That's all. Thank you.